Hello, I'm Hugo Disler from Farming Secrets. We've got the pleasure to be talking to Andy Monk, and we're in this lovely environment here because what we've got in the background is some goats that I believe are on hire for weed control, and they, according to this gentleman who hires them out to the council, it's saving the council a lot of heartache and time and money, and they're very pleased having the goats. So Andy, I'd like you to introduce yourself. You're a director of BFA, and give us a bit of a quick rundown of yourself and what you can offer farmers.
Yep, definitely, Hugo. Well, BFA, or Biological Farmers of Australia, is a member-owned, it used to be a co-op, but it's now just simply a limited entity owned by members, and there's about 1,500 people in that now. 2/3 of the members are farmers. And the network, I guess if you want to call it that, is simply people who are wanting to understand more about biological farming systems. Many of those end up going to become certified organic, but some don't. So I might segment it into both the certified path and those who are sort of, continuing to seek information. As Farming Secrets knows, there's a hunger for information generally on doing things organically and biologically and biodynamically. And I'll leave that to you guys. You're the experts on, and have done many of those the videos on that. I guess for those who then are doing those practices, and they're wanting to then sell this into the formal markets, and whether that's a farmer's market or a retailer or for export, there are certification programs out there to fit all types these days. And there's, BFA has Organic Growers of Australia as one example, which is a small growers group scheme where farmers with a turnover of only up to $70,000 go through that. It's I guess a low doc program. I guess you could say it's a simpler program for those who don't supply to the big retailers and don't want to export. And then Australian Certified Organic, which is I guess BFA's better known brand. It's extensively on the majority of organic product in the marketplace, and certifies the majority of farmers in Australia. Has a program where people need, in terms of price, often people ask that, price and bureaucracy, people often think, isn't it all too hard? Apart from the point that now that the markets are demanding and expecting that farmers, if they want to make an organic claim, are certified. The costing is, at $800 to $900 per annum. For your base certification charges, that's about the price of your Land Cruiser registered on the road. So that's one way of looking at the price thing. I know what scares people more is maybe the bureaucracy or the record keeping. And again, once you get into it and develop the habit of it, and of course these days you can't farm without keeping some documentation anyway. Everyone has to do their BAS for the tax office,
chemical
and
records.
they have to keep chemical records. And really, organic requirements aren't all that much more than that. They do require that you are keeping an audit trail, which means that you're tracking what you're putting onto the farm and what products you're selling off it. And that's what the auditor or the inspector comes and looks at on an annual basis, and sometimes on a spot basis. So that independence of the certification obviously gives the organic industry the credibility that it has in the marketplace. We're just in this last week we've become award winners with Choice for being recognised as the Food Endorsement Program Award, the winner of that award in Australia, which is a fantastic endorsement by a fairly scathing and critical consumer group, a fantastic group in Choice, that they're recognising the Bud logo program, the standards behind it, and the certification program as leading the country with ahead of the heart ticks and the dolphin safes and all those other food endorsement claims. So obviously that's what that's all about, and it's about tracking the integrity of that product, and that's why the auditors come and do that sort of thing. So I guess the messages to recap are for farmers that there are some records to keep, but they're actually usually not much more than, and sometimes just exactly what you're doing right now. If you can trace your own products, and I trust people are filling in their own tax forms anyway, there's really not much in that regard. I think probably, having said that, probably the last fear factor is actually having a stranger come onto your farm. Maybe that's the other aspect of people going, oh look, I'm going to have someone come on and actually have a look at what I'm doing. I don't know whether I'm ready for that. We like to see that in a positive light anyway, and I think the best farmers of the country are those that do open themselves up to a bit of benchmarking scrutiny. These auditors are well-trained auditors who aren't there to judge you as such as a farmer. They're there to cross-check that you're implementing the organic standard. But at the end of the day, if anything, they should be able to be an assistance to the farmer in using their feedback to continue to improve their system. And I think as long as you can therefore be comfortable with, you know, a stranger, an auditor who you'll get to know through time. Sometimes there's a couple that you're relying on your region to do the certification assessment or audit. You know, the cost and the records, that's really all there is to certification.
Andrew, you said you brought up this term auditors. We've been suppliers to the organic industry, and we have had the so-called auditors come out to see us. But we saw, though, we didn't see them as auditors. We actually saw them as friends, and we saw them as consultants, because we also know that they really knew what they're talking about. They weren't just there to you know, tick off tick off the various statements.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to see them actually as more consultants who are there as a friend rather than any other title.
Definitely, Hugo. I mean, the balancing act is, because they've got to be independent, they can't be too friendly, but they do try to be, you know, user-friendly. And you're right. I mean, most people, I think the industry is a marvellous industry. Actually, it's very diverse. There's all sorts. I always say, you know, we're a liquish all sorts kind of an industry, large, small, and all shapes and sizes. But you know, yeah, definitely a user-friendly approach is what we sort of aim for in the culture of the auditors. And you're right. It's again too, they can't technically advise you how to do something, and that's of course where Farming Secrets comes in, and organisations like yourself, where you're actually assisting the farmer implementing the system. But they can clarify what to do in terms of the organic standard. So I know it's a fine distinction, but their job is not to be formal advisors as such, but to come in and to be independent in cross-checking that. And that's, as I said, that's what everyone to the bigger supermarkets of the world are now sort of demanding. And even farmers markets are increasingly starting to get clearer about requiring that. That's probably the only grey area in the marketplace that the gap's slowly closing on. And it's a sort of gap that was still there even only a few years ago with the big supermarkets, but they've realised that if something's not certified and it's making a claim of organic or biodynamic, there needs to be a backup certification behind it. So, you know, whether it's the ACO type of programs for the more formal markets, if you want to call it that, or the larger markets, or the small grower programs of the OGA, all of that information is on the BFA website. They're just bfa.com.au. And there's all sorts of things for people there. As you know, there's the organic standard, so they can download that for free and have a look at you know, what's required. They look at sort of cost schedules. There's information links. There's information on these road shows, and as was mentioned before, the certification workshops that also occur around the country that I think you're going to maybe cover one of in your video library, the growing video library. So there's all of that sort of information. That network is there for people to use as they need.